Bing bong.
So I'm by no means a diehard Scooby-Doo fan, but I did like the show a lot when I was a kid, and that's what makes this Velma show so devastatingly disappointing. I'm gonna try not to go on a big rant here, but I really am having trouble seeing who this show is for and why anybody in charge of this first episode of Velma thought that it was good enough to put on television. There are a lot of things you could do with the Scooby-Doo IP, and I think that this show is probably tough to sell without the Scooby-Doo IP. But I almost feel like it's also even worse because it's based around these characters that people grew up with. Seeing them in this type of show, which is like over the top gratuity, which usually I'm all on board with. Family Guy, Always Sunny, give me the most ridiculous type of TV comedy. But I don't even know if this show knows what it wants to be. If it's a comedy, most of the jokes do not land. I know comedy is subjective, and I'm trying to take a real objective look at a show like this. But the jokes, the writing as a whole, massive miss. Mindy Kaling being involved, right? It always makes me a little excited and a little nervous because some of her ideas are fantastic. Sex Lives of College Girls, also on HBO. Really good show. But hit and miss. So I think we're looking at the miss right now. I kind of want to talk to somebody, or I'd love to hear from if anyone watching this video is like a diehard Scooby-Doo fan. I want to know if this is the show that you plan on sticking with or, at least watching a few episodes. I was a super casual Scooby-Doo fan, and I think this show is terrible. Like, actively not well made, poorly voice acted. The animation looks fine. I don't really know. It feels like the show is trying to balance like a lot of storylines, which the whole point of the original Scooby-Doo is like it was very contained within each episode. There wasn't usually like some massive overarching plot about somebody finding why their mom disappeared. I don't know. There's a lot happening in this show, and for the most part, it sort of feels like they're just throwing a lot of stuff at the wall right now, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. But I think that's part of what worries me. It feels like none of this works. This show feels like already it needs a hard reset. They got to go back to the writer's room, figure out the kind of show they actually want to make, because if this is it, this is a miss. This is painful viewing. It's not funny. It's not compelling. I struggled to make it through half of this episode. It's 27 minutes. What was the original Scooby-Doo? Like 20-minute episodes, right? I just don't know who this show is even for. I don't know who the audience is, and I don't think they know who the show is supposed to be for. And it honestly feels like some weird combination of like Family Guy, the Harley Quinn show, Always Sunny, Rick and Morty, and they're just trying to combine it into one show based around the Scooby-Doo characters, which, by the way, it's also super jarring seeing the Scooby-Doo characters act the way that the characters in this show do, which sometimes that's not really a big deal. But this would be like if you took Arthur and turned him into some cursing, swearing, like violent, ridiculous TV show. There are a lot of elements of this show that feel like they are different just for the sake of being different, like not really with any purpose. Calling Shaggy by his first name, Norbert, like, okay. I mean, it's like you don't have to do that. It just feels like you're kind of doing it just to be different, and there's not really any real like purpose behind it other than like, hey, maybe some people don't know that's his real first name. Like, cool, whatever, but like it also doesn't seem like Shaggy at all. Like, if you want this to be a prequel series, which is sort of what they're pitching it as, a prequel to what? Like, this is not, the characters don't turn into the later versions. Like, they're all assholes in this version of the show. It's like they don't become better people. So I'm just not really sure what prequel to what universe of Scooby-Doo. I almost think you got to strip away the Scooby-Doo IP, because I think like as the show goes on, it's only going to hold it back, or it's going to turn off more people because it's so different and not in a good way that it's just going to become more and more unwatchable. as the episodes dragged on. The first episode dragged on. That is not what you want from the first episode of a show, especially one with like a decent amount of hype because it has the Scooby-Doo IP. That was a little bit exciting. But if this is what we're getting from the Scooby-Doo IP in 2023, count me out. Do not recommend. If you're like a diehard Scooby-Doo fan, fine, maybe give it a shot. But like, if you're casual, if you're curious, don't be. The point of Scooby-Doo was that it was silly, and this is just bad.